Imagine walking through life completely unshaken, no matter what challenges come your way. Chaos around you, yet inside, absolute peace. Sounds impossible? The ancient wisdom of Buddhism holds the key. For centuries, monks and masters have followed powerful principles that shield them from negativity, stress, and fear. Today, we'll reveal 10 Buddhist principles that will transform the way you react to life. Stay until the end, because the last principle is the most powerful of all. One that can shift your entire perspective on suffering, happiness, and control. Are you ready to unlock a mind that remains unaffected? Let's begin. The root of suffering. Why we react. Picture this. You're stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting. Your hands grip the wheel, your jaw tightens, and frustration builds inside you. Why? It's just cars on a road, yet it feels like the universe is conspiring against you. This reaction, this tension, is what Buddhism calls dukkha, often translated as suffering. But here's the truth. The suffering isn't in the traffic itself. It's in how your mind responds to it. Buddhism teaches that our suffering doesn't come from external events, but from our attachment to how we think things should be. We expect traffic to move, people to be kind, life to go as planned. And when reality doesn't match our expectations, we resist. That resistance is what creates suffering. A famous Buddhist parable explains this perfectly. Imagine you're shot with an arrow. It hurts. But then, you shoot yourself with a second arrow by getting angry, resentful, or anxious about it. That second arrow is unnecessary suffering. Life will always bring difficulties. The first arrow is unavoidable. But the second arrow, that's a choice. Take a moment to reflect. How many times have you suffered more because of your reaction rather than the event itself? A harsh comment from someone ruins your whole day. A small mistake makes you doubt yourself for weeks. These are second arrows. So, what's the way out? The first step is awareness. When you feel anger, frustration, or sadness arising, don't fight it, observe it. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What expectation am I clinging to right now?" This small shift in perspective is powerful. It takes you from being a victim of your emotions to being an observer of them. The next time life throws something unexpected at you, pause. Feel the emotion, acknowledge it, but don't let it control you. Because when you stop shooting that second arrow, suffering loses its grip on you. And that is the first step toward true inner peace. The power of impermanence. Nothing lasts forever. Imagine holding a handful of sand. No matter how tightly you grip it, the grains slip through your fingers. This is the nature of everything in life. People, emotions, successes, failures. Nothing stays the same. Yet, we struggle. We chase happiness as if we can trap it in a bottle. We fear loss as if we could hold on forever. But Buddhism teaches a profound truth. Impermanence is not the enemy. It's the key to freedom. There's an ancient story about a wise Buddhist master who had a favorite teacup. He loved it. The shape, the color, the way it felt in his hands. But every time he drank from it, he reminded himself, "This cup is already broken." Not because he wanted it to break, but because he understood that one day it would. When it finally shattered, he didn't suffer. He had already accepted its impermanence. Now, think about your own life. The relationships you cherish, the emotions you feel, even the problems that seem overwhelming right now. They are all like that teacup. They will change. Some will fade, some will end, and some will transform into something new. But when we resist this truth, when we demand that things stay the same, that's when suffering begins. So, how do we embrace impermanence instead of fearing it? 1. Appreciate the present fully. When you understand that everything is temporary, you begin to cherish it more. That moment with a loved one, that sunrise, that laugh, they become precious because you know they won't last forever. 2. Let go of attachment. If something is meant to go, let it go. Holding on too tightly to anything, whether it's a person, a job, or an idea of how life should be, only creates pain. 3. See change as a teacher. Instead of fearing endings, ask, what is this moment teaching me? Every change, even the painful ones, holds a lesson that leads to growth. There's a Buddhist phrase that sums this up beautifully: this too shall pass. The joy, the sorrow, the triumphs, the failures, they all pass. And when you truly understand this, you stop clinging. You stop resisting. And in that acceptance, you find a kind of peace that nothing can shake. Because when you stop fearing impermanence, you start living fully. Mastering non-attachment. Let go and be free. Imagine you're holding a rope, and on the other end, someone is pulling with all their strength. Your hands start to burn, your muscles ache, and yet, you refuse to let go. Why? Because deep inside, you believe that holding on gives you control. But what if I told you that real freedom comes not from clinging, but from releasing? Buddhism teaches that attachment is the root of suffering. Not just attachment to material things, but to people, emotions, ideas, even our own identity. We cling to relationships, fearing loneliness. We attach ourselves to success, terrified of failure. We hold on to anger, pain, or past regrets as if they define us. And in doing so, we become prisoners of our own mind. But let's break this down. Why do we attach in the first place? At its core, attachment comes from fear. Fear of loss, fear of change, fear of the unknown. We believe that by holding on, we can keep things permanent. But as we learned in the last chapter, nothing lasts forever. The tighter we grip, the more we suffer when things inevitably slip away. The illusion of control. There's a powerful Buddhist analogy. Imagine you're in a river, struggling against the current. You're trying to swim upstream, exhausting yourself, fighting the natural flow of life. That's attachment. Now, imagine you stop resisting. You let go, you trust, and suddenly, you're flowing effortlessly with the river. That's non-attachment. Non-attachment doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you stop loving, stop feeling, or stop trying. It means you love without clinging, you experience without fear, and you live without resistance. Think about your own life. How many times have you been hurt because you couldn't let go of something? A past relationship, a missed opportunity, a grudge that still lingers? We carry these burdens for years, even decades, believing they define us. But they don't. They are just stories we refuse to close. How to practice non-attachment. 1. Recognize impermanence in everything. Instead of resisting change, expect it. When you embrace the truth that everything is temporary, you stop fearing loss and start appreciating the present. 2. Detach from outcomes. We suffer not because things go wrong, but because we expect them to go a certain way. Practice doing your best without obsessing over results. 3. Observe your thoughts, don't become them. When sadness, anger, or fear arise, don't identify with them. See them like passing clouds in the sky, temporary, fleeting, and separate from who you truly are. 4. Let go of the past. Forgiveness isn't about others, it's about freeing yourself. Carrying resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Release it. 5. Live with open hands. Imagine life as a handful of sand. If you grip it too tightly, it slips away. But if you hold it gently, it stays. Let things and people come and go naturally, without forcing them to fit your expectations. The ultimate freedom. There's a story of a Zen master who had a beautiful silver bowl. One day, a student accidentally knocked it over, shattering it into pieces. The student was terrified, expecting the master to be furious. But the master simply smiled and said, "It was already broken." This is the mindset of true non-attachment. Understanding that everything in life, our possessions, our relationships, even our own body, is already broken, already temporary. When we accept this, we stop resisting reality. We stop fearing loss. And we discover a peace that no external event can shake. Because in the end, non-attachment isn't about giving up on life. It's about truly living it, without fear, without clinging, and without suffering. The mind as an observer, seeing without judgment. Imagine sitting on a hill, watching the clouds drift across the sky. Some are light and wispy, others dark and heavy with rain. But no matter their shape, size, or speed, you don't try to stop them. You don't judge them as good or bad. You simply observe. Now, what if you could watch your thoughts the same way? Most of us spend our lives trapped inside our own minds, reacting to every emotion, every thought, every impulse as if they define us. You feel anger, and suddenly, you become angry. You feel anxious, and now anxiety consumes you. But Buddhism teaches something powerful. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of them. Why do we react? Let's say someone insults you. Instantly, your heart races, your face gets hot, and your mind floods with angry thoughts. How dare they say that? I should say something back. Before you even realize it, you've been hooked, dragged into an emotional storm. But stop for a second. Did that insult truly harm you, or was it your reaction to it that caused the suffering? This is the trap of identification. We mistake passing thoughts and emotions for permanent truths. But here's the reality. A thought is just a thought. A feeling is just a feeling. Like clouds in the sky, they come and go. The problem isn't the thoughts themselves. It's that we attach to them, we judge them, and we let them control us. The power of becoming the observer. In Buddhism, this practice is called mindfulness, learning to watch your mind instead of being ruled by it. When you become the observer, emotions lose their grip on you. Instead of drowning in anger, you see it rise and fall, like a wave in the ocean. Instead of getting lost in worry, you notice it, acknowledge it, and let it drift away. Here's a simple exercise. 1. Pause. The next time you feel a strong emotion, anger, fear, sadness, don't react immediately. Just stop. Take a breath. 2. Observe without judgment. Instead of thinking, I am angry, say, I am experiencing anger. Feel the difference. You are not the emotion. You are the one watching it. 3. Let it pass. Just like clouds, every thought and feeling will eventually fade if you don't hold on to it. Trust that it will pass. The mirror and the dust. A Zen monk once asked his master, "How can I find peace?" The master handed him a mirror and said, "Look at this mirror. When it is covered in dust, you cannot see clearly. Your mind is the same way, covered in judgments, opinions, and reactions. Wipe away the dust, and the truth will appear." Most of us live with a dusty mirror, reacting blindly to everything that happens. But when you step back and just observe, you start to see things as they truly are, not through the lens of your fears, your expectations, or your emotions. And here's the secret. When you stop reacting to life, life stops controlling you. You become calm, unshaken, untouchable. You no longer live at the mercy of every passing thought. Instead, you become the master of your own mind. Because in the end, peace isn't about controlling the world, it's about mastering your reaction to it. Inner peace through compassion. Imagine walking down a busy street. You see a man yelling at a cashier, his face red with anger. Your first instinct might be to judge him, "What a rude person," or even feel irritated by his behavior. But what if instead you paused and asked, "What pain is this person carrying?" This shift in perspective is the essence of compassion, a core teaching in Buddhism that holds the power to transform not just how we see others, but how we experience life itself. Why compassion brings inner peace. Most people think of compassion as something we give to others. But in truth, compassion is a gift we give to ourselves. Why? Because when you cultivate compassion, you stop taking things personally. You stop holding on to anger, resentment, and frustration. And when those burdens disappear, what's left? Peace. Think about the last time someone upset you. Maybe a coworker snapped at you, or a stranger was rude. Did you hold on to that anger for hours, days, even longer? Now imagine if, instead of reacting with irritation, you responded with understanding. Maybe they're struggling. Maybe they're in pain. Suddenly, their actions lose power over you. You let go. And in letting go, you set yourself free. The secret of Buddhist compassion. Buddhism teaches a beautiful practice called metta, or loving-kindness meditation. It's a way of training your mind to react with warmth instead of resentment. Here's how it works. 1. Start with yourself. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and silently repeat. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering. 2. Expand to others. Now think of someone you love and wish the same for them. May they be happy. May they be peaceful. May they be free from suffering. 3. Extend it further. Bring to mind someone neutral, like a stranger, and repeat the process. 4. Finally, send compassion to someone difficult. This is the real test. Picture someone who has hurt or annoyed you, and, without forcing it, wish them peace too. At first, this might feel unnatural. Why wish peace to someone who's caused you pain? But here's the truth. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. When you send them compassion, you're not excusing their actions. You're freeing yourself from the emotional weight they have over you. How compassion transforms your life. When you approach life with compassion, something remarkable happens. You become unshaken. The rude stranger, the difficult boss, the unfair situation, they no longer have control over your emotions. You stop taking things personally. Instead of reacting with anger, you start asking, what pain is behind this? And that understanding dissolves negativity. You experience deep peace. When your heart is light, your mind is free. And a free mind is a peaceful mind. The story of the angry man. A Buddhist monk once told this story. A man came to Buddha, furious. He insulted him, mocked him, and tried to provoke a reaction. But Buddha simply smiled and remained calm. Finally, the man demanded, "Why aren't you reacting?" Buddha asked him, "If someone offers you a gift, but you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man replied, "To the giver, of course." Buddha nodded. "Then why should I accept your anger?" This is the power of compassion. It allows you to see beyond someone's words or actions. It keeps you from absorbing negativity. And most importantly, it brings you unshakable inner peace. Because in the end, compassion isn't about changing others, it's about freeing yourself. Simplicity, the path to true freedom. Imagine waking up one morning to find that everything you own is gone. Your clothes, your phone, your car, vanished. At first, panic sets in. But then, something unexpected happens. You feel light, free, unburdened. Because for the first time, you realize that your happiness never depended on those things. This is the essence of Buddhist simplicity. In a world that constantly tells us we need more success, more possessions, more status, Buddhism teaches the opposite. True happiness comes from needing less. Why do we chase more? From a young age, we're conditioned to believe that happiness is just one step away. Once I get that promotion, I'll be happy. Once I buy that house, I'll feel secure. Once I achieve X, then I'll finally be at peace. But have you ever noticed that the finish line keeps moving? Every time you achieve one goal, another takes its place. And so, we keep running, chasing happiness like a mirage in the desert, always just out of reach. Buddhism calls this cycle samsara, the endless pursuit of desires that never truly satisfy us. The more we have, the more we want. And the more we want, the more we suffer. But what if the solution isn't in getting more, but in needing less? The power of simplicity. There's a Zen saying, "A wise man is not the one who has the most, but the one who needs the least." Think about the happiest moments in your life. Were they tied to things? Or were they simple? Laughing with a friend, watching the sunset, feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin? Happiness has never been in possessions. It has always been in presence. Buddhist monks embody this principle. They own almost nothing, a robe, a bowl, a few essentials. And yet, they radiate a peace that billionaires spend their lives chasing. Why? Because their joy isn't attached to things. It comes from within. How to embrace simplicity. 1. Declutter your life. Not just your home, but your mind. Let go of unnecessary worries, toxic relationships, and mental baggage. Ask yourself, do I truly need this? 2. Detach from material things. Owning things isn't bad, but being attached to them is. Use them, enjoy them, but don't depend on them for happiness. 3. Live in the present. When you stop obsessing over what's next, you start appreciating what's now. 4. Shift your focus from having to being. Instead of chasing more possessions, chase more experiences, more love, more wisdom. The story of the fisherman and the businessman. A businessman was on vacation when he met a simple fisherman. The fisherman spent his mornings fishing, then relaxed with his family, played music, and watched the sunset. The businessman said, "Why don't you fish more?" The fisherman asked, "Why?" The businessman said, "So you can make more money, buy a bigger boat, expand your business, and retire rich." The fisherman smiled and said, "And what would I do when I retire?" The businessman replied, "Relax, spend time with your family, play music, and watch the sunset." The fisherman laughed. "But I already do that now." This is the illusion we live under. We chase wealth and success, thinking they will bring peace, when peace was available all along, in the simplicity of the present moment. The freedom of needing less. When you simplify your life, something magical happens. Stress disappears. Comparison fades. You stop running, stop chasing, stop struggling. And in that stillness, you discover something you were searching for all along: contentment. Because in the end, happiness isn't in having more. It's in being free from the need for more. Accepting change without fear. Imagine standing on the shore, watching the waves roll in. Some are small and gentle, others crash with force. But no matter how big or small, one thing is certain: they never stop changing. Life is the same way. Everything changes. Our relationships, our bodies, our emotions, our circumstances. And yet, we resist. We cling to what's familiar, fearing the unknown. We want things to stay the same, even when change is inevitable. But here's a secret: the moment you stop fearing change, you become untouchable. Why do we fear change? At its core, fear of change comes from our desire for control. We want life to be predictable, stable, certain. But reality doesn't work that way. The more we try to hold on, the more we suffer. Think about it. Have you ever lost sleep worrying about the future? Have you ever felt anxious because things weren't going the way you planned? That's the mind resisting change, fighting a battle it can never win. Buddhism teaches that change isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. Why? Because impermanence is what makes life beautiful. Flowers bloom, but they also wither. That's why they're precious. Moments come, but they also go. That's why they matter. People enter our lives, and sometimes they leave. That's why we cherish them. If nothing ever changed, there would be no growth, no discovery, no new experiences. Life would be stagnant. But because of change, every moment is a fresh opportunity. How to accept change with peace. 1. See change as a teacher. Instead of resisting, ask, what is this moment teaching me? Even painful changes hold wisdom. 2. Detach from expectations. The more rigid your plans, the harder it is when life shifts. Stay flexible, and you'll never break. 3. Trust the flow of life. Just like waves in the ocean, some changes are small ripples, others are storms. But no storm lasts forever. 4. Live in the present. The past is gone, the future is uncertain. The only place where life truly happens is now. The parable of the farmer. A farmer's horse ran away. His neighbor said, "Such bad luck." The farmer simply replied, "Maybe." The next day, the horse returned with 3 wild horses. The neighbor said, "What good luck?" The farmer replied, "Maybe." Later, the farmer's son tried to ride one of the wild horses and broke his leg. The neighbor said, "That's terrible luck." Again, the farmer said, "Maybe." Days later, soldiers came to recruit young men for war. Because the son had a broken leg, he was spared. The neighbor exclaimed, "What great luck!" And once again the farmer said, "Maybe." This is the wisdom of non-resistance. The farmer understood that change itself isn't good or bad, it just is. It's our judgments that create suffering. The freedom of letting go. Imagine if, instead of fearing change, you welcomed it. Imagine if you trusted that whatever happens, good or bad, is part of your journey. Suddenly, life stops being a fight. You move with the flow, not against it. And in that flow, you find something rare and powerful. Peace in the midst of uncertainty. Because in the end, change isn't the enemy. Resistance is. Let go, trust, and watch how life unfolds in ways you never imagined. Silence and stillness. The power of doing nothing. Imagine sitting by a calm lake at sunrise. The water is so still that it reflects the sky perfectly, like a mirror. Now, imagine throwing a rock into the lake. The water ripples, distorting the reflection. This is exactly what happens to your mind in daily life. Every notification, every worry, every thought is like a rock disturbing the stillness of your inner world. We are constantly moving, constantly consuming information, constantly reacting. But what if the key to true clarity, true peace, and true strength wasn't in doing more, but in doing nothing? Buddhism teaches that stillness is not emptiness, it is power. In silence, the mind settles. In stillness, we see reality clearly. And when we stop chasing, stop striving, stop forcing, we discover something rare in this world, inner peace that no external event can shake. Why are we afraid of stillness? Most people fill their lives with noise, TV, social media, endless tasks. Not because they enjoy it, but because they fear what happens in silence. In stillness, we are forced to face ourselves. Our thoughts, our emotions, our fears, they all rise to the surface. And that can be uncomfortable. But here's the truth. Avoiding yourself is what creates suffering. Facing yourself is what sets you free. The power of doing nothing. There's a Zen story about a monk who asked his master, "What is the secret to enlightenment?" The master simply replied, "Sit down and be quiet." At first, this seems too simple. But think about it. When was the last time you just sat in silence, with no distractions, no goals, no need to be productive? In modern life, we have lost this ability. And yet, the greatest wisdom, the deepest insights, and the most profound peace come when the mind is still. How to cultivate stillness. 1. Practice mindful pauses. Before reacting to anything, an email, a stressful moment, an argument, pause. Breathe. Let the emotion settle before responding. 2. Spend time in silence daily. Just 5 minutes of sitting quietly, doing nothing, can shift your entire mental state. Observe your thoughts without getting attached to them. 3. Let go of the need to fill space. Not every moment needs to be productive. Some of the most valuable moments are the ones where you simply exist. 4. Listen more, talk less. In conversation, instead of planning what to say next, truly listen. You'll be surprised at what you learn. The story of the overflowing cup. A scholar once visited a Zen master to learn about wisdom. As the master poured tea, he kept pouring even after the cup was full. The tea spilled over, but the master continued. The scholar said, "Stop. The cup is full." The master smiled and said, "Your mind is like this cup, so full of thoughts, opinions, and distractions that nothing new can enter. Empty your cup, and you will find wisdom." This is the power of stillness. When you stop filling your mind with noise, you make space for true clarity, true understanding, and true peace. Stillness is the ultimate strength. Imagine a tree in the middle of a storm. If it fights the wind, it will break. But if it remains rooted in stillness, it survives. Life will bring storms. People will test you. Challenges will come. But if your mind is still, unshaken, untouched, nothing can disturb your peace. Because in the end, the strongest person is not the one who reacts the fastest, but the one who can sit in stillness and remain unmoved. Finding strength in detachment. Picture yourself holding onto a rope that's burning your hands. It hurts, but you won't let go. You believe holding on keeps you safe, even though it's the very thing causing your pain. That's how we often live, clinging to people, ideas, possessions, and even our own identity, thinking they give us control or security. But Buddhism shows us something different. True strength isn't in holding on. It's in knowing when to let go. We're taught from a young age that attachment means love, that success means control. But everything we cling to eventually slips away. People change, things break, even our own bodies grow old. When you depend on something outside of yourself for happiness, you hand over your peace. But when you let go, you find it was never about the things themselves. It was about the freedom you gain without them. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you love without clinging, you experience without fear, and you live without holding tight to outcomes. Like a bird on a branch, it enjoys the branch, but its strength isn't in the wood beneath it. It's in its wings. If the branch breaks, it simply flies away. There's a story about two monks who carried a woman across a river. One let go the moment she was safely across. The other held onto the event in his mind for hours. We do the same. We carry old pain, old stories, old attachments long after they've served their time. But peace comes the moment we set them down. Because strength isn't gripping harder. It's knowing you don't need to hold on at all. The ultimate principle. Embracing the present moment. Close your eyes for a second. Take a deep breath. Feel it as it enters and leaves your body. That's it. That's life. Happening now. Not yesterday. Not tomorrow. Just now. Buddhism teaches that the present moment is all we truly have. The past is a memory. The future is a thought. But this moment, this breath, is real. And when you learn to live fully here, everything changes. You stop chasing. You stop regretting. You stop worrying. And in that space, you find peace. The ultimate principle is simple. Be here now. Because this moment is enough. And so are you. If this message resonated with you, don't leave without subscribing to the channel. You'll find more teachings here to help you live with peace and clarity. And now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these principles spoke to you the most? How will you apply them in your life? Let's keep growing together. Leave your comment below. See you in the next video.